excited. Feel these nipples.
Hey guys, Jim here. Welcome back once again. Today I'd like to bring you something wildly different from Russia. This was sent in by a buddy. His name's Graham. You can see his Instagram down below. And I gotta tell you, when he sent me the pictures and said, "Hey, do you want to check this out?" I was like, "Yeah, man, that looks really, really cool." And then when it arrived and I got it in my hand, it went from, "Yeah, that's pretty cool," to "Holy shit, I need one of these." This is the TVT Knives ECILOP, or ECILOP, I guess you could pronounce it that way. And this was based off of a really unique way of designing a knife. It was almost like reverse engineering something that he himself really, really enjoyed. And by he, I mean Anton Konigin, who is from Russia, who made this knife. And he is, oh man, he is so talented. The action on this thing, the way that the ergos fit in the hand, this knife just melts in your hand. The frag pattern that was done on the frame is fantastic. It's just a little bit grippy without a single sharp edge anywhere. Because sometimes when you're doing frag, it's either going to be so harsh that every corner of every square you feel it like a sharp edge, or they round all that off so soft that it feels a little bit weird. This is the perfect balance and a true perfect way of doing a frag pattern in titanium. I think this thing is just fantastic. But I don't want to waste a lot of time here on the intro. I want to get straight into the photography and then into the close-up tabletop review portion, because we are going to have some fun with this knife. And probably one of the coolest details in this knife you can't even really see from this distance, but I can't wait to show it to you. Okay, I think it's pretty easy for you guys to tell when I really, really enjoy a knife just by the way that I photograph it. I tend to spend a little more time with the knives that I think are really gorgeous, and I try to get some more detail shots and add in a few more artistic shots. And this is one of those knives. I just thought it was so gorgeous and so well done that they didn't want to stop taking pictures of it. So anyway, here is the packaging that it arrived in. I want to thank Graham again for sending this over. This is a custom knife that he spent a good amount of money getting and was generous enough to message me and say, "Hey, do you want to check this one out too?" And I was like, "Hell yeah." This is the COA card. Frag pattern on one side. This appears to be titanium, and by the way, it's been anodized. I'd say that it definitely is. Model name, blade material, M398. Handle titanium, and its birth date, all hand engraved or hand signed with a electric engraver. Very slick, very cool. I thought this was one hell of a cool addition. You know, we've seen some people do these titanium or aluminum or some other sort of metal for a COA card, but I've never seen anybody do it in a way where they've matched the pattern of their frame into the COA card. I thought that was a really, really cool touch. Very creative, very thoughtful, and it makes the whole experience just a little bit more special. As does this case, by the way. I've never seen a case like this before. It opens on both sides for you to put the knife into. You could effectively travel and carry two knives, and they would never rub up against each other. It's very, very nice. Has a leather style feel to it. Probably not genuine leather. That would be really expensive. And there it is. The action is just butter. Absolutely butter smooth. Very finely tuned detent. It's not too hard, not too light. It's kind of like that Goldilocks detent where it doesn't feel like it's a finger breaker, yet it allows the blade, as large as it is, to just rock it out. Lock bar tension is perfect. So you've got the good detent feel, and you've got that ability to just kind of drop the blade with gravity without it being a true guillotine. It's not quite hydraulic, but it is a slower, controlled, drop-free. Feels very, very nice. Take a look at this thing. Look how gorgeous this is. We're going to get into the TLDW, Too Long Didn't Watch, for those of you that do not have a lot of time to watch these videos and absorb all the information. I'm going to give you all the highline information, the pros and the cons, and then after that, I'll do the specs, and then at the end, I'll give you my personal thoughts on the knife, and if it's worth the money or not, if it's something that I'd want to add to my collection. Spoiler alert, it is, and it is. So there you go for that. All right, TLDW, we will start as always with the pros. The first pro for me is going to be the shape of the handle, the shape of the frame. Very ergonomic. It just curves in all the right places, has flat spots in all the right places, a little bit of indentation there for your thumb, which also serves well for your flipper tab follow through. And that is, by the way, nicely, very nicely crowned, softly rounded off. So when your finger is following through from the flipper tab, there's nothing harsh at all for your fingertip to encounter. I love that. The way this thing feels in the hand is fantastic. It's kind of sort of similar to the Hinderer XM series in the way that it's shaped and the way that it feels in the hand. And then one of the other unique things that he's done that I really, really, really like is the finish work on the blade. Now, typically, if you're going to have a belt satin finish on your bevels, you're either going to have horizontal belt lines going across the flats, or you're going to do a hand rub satin across the flats, but also horizontal. And what he's done here is something that I have never seen any other knife maker do, which is do them at kind of a 45-degree angle. And that gives a wonderful juxtaposition to the grind lines that are left behind on each of the bevels. Looks really, really cool. I've just never seen anybody else do it. Another thing that I really like is the way that he's done his hardware. These appear to all be T8s. I haven't tested them for size, but they look like T8s. And instead of having a piece of hardware here with another head here, 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 and here, he has basically screwed from one end in through the back spacer and then into the front side frame, or the presentation side frame. So you get the look of hardware without the Torx heads being exposed. I think that's very, very cool. Another thing that I don't recall ever seeing anybody else do before. Most everybody else would use what like a pivot is built with two heads and a barrel in the middle, and then they would screw into the barrel. Instead, the holes over here are actually tapped and threaded to accept those screws. Wonderfully ingenious. And another interesting point that I'd like to point out is the pocket clip. So you might look at it and think, oh, it's just a bent, flat spring titanium clip, but it's not. This is a fully, beautifully milled, fully sculpted pocket clip that is mounted inside of the frame. So what they've done is, first off, it's blind screwed, so there's no external hardware. It's fit into a milled pocket, set down in there so there's no play back and forth. And it's screwed in from the inside. We should be able to see there is the hardware there, if I can get it to focus. Bingo, bango. Very slick, very cool. Oh, I didn't realize this because I hadn't looked inside yet. It appears that these are numbered, or it's got a date code on it. October of 2022, ECILOP name. And another pro will be the fact that he is cut away just enough here on the presentation side to give you ease of access to the lock bar, so it's easier to unlock it and close it. You do have a steel-on-steel lockup, so you've got that lock bar insert and the over travel bar as well, so you can't overextend the titanium lock bar. And finally, a piece that I really, really, really love, this titanium Damascus. I want to call it Mokutai or Timascus, but again, those are branded names. Timascus is a branded name owned by Alpha Knife Supply, who created that process of making Damascus patterns from titanium. And then Mokutai is the same type of deal, but owned by Chad Nichols. This, I'm going to assume, is a Russian titanium Damascus, as that did gain popularity 8-9 years ago or so. A few companies that were making knives in Russia were offering clips and backspacers and whatnot, and everybody was just calling them Timascus, even though they weren't actually made by Alpha Knife Supply. Let's look how gorgeous that is. Now, this is a big boy, and that may be the first con. For some people, it may be just too unwieldy. It is not a tiny knife. Can I think of any other cons? No, not really. The jimping is good on here. The action is great. Lock bar tension is great. It's all pros. I think if there were a con, I would probably want to see like a landing pad done right underneath the contact point for the clip that wasn't frag patterned, just to get it into the pocket a little bit easier. This presents no problems getting into the pocket. However, we all have had knives with frag patterns, and sometimes it could be a little sketchy getting it in and out because of the tension of the pocket clip. But that's really it. This review is really going to be 100% positive. There is nothing about this knife that I don't like and I don't appreciate. Now, this is a knife that you can't just go out anywhere and buy. They're not available at major retailers and things like that. So I didn't have any reference for the specifications. So I'm going to have to do this the old-fashioned way, the manual way, and give you individual measurements here. So you are 9 3/4 inches in the overall length. Whoo, doggy! I told you she was a big one. Your cutting edge is 4 inches on what is just under a 4.5-inch overall blade. It is M398, so a very, very premium steel being used. And if I had to guess, I'd say the blade stock thickness is around 150 thousandths of an inch thick. I don't have my calipers up here in my studio to give that a proper measurement, so that is just an eyeball guess. And the weight is 6 ounces. So it may be prohibitive for some people to carry, by law, because there are plenty of states in the United States where you can't carry over a 3 or 3.5-inch blade. And B, just for your own personal comfort, you don't want to carry around a pocket hog. It's 6 ounces, 6 ounces, really? 6 ounces. And what's the length when it's folded? So just about 5.5 inches in the handle length. So she's a big girl. She really is a big girl. And I think that makes it even more impressive that the blade rockets out in the way that it does without having to have a finger-breaking strength on the detent. Everything is it's so perfectly friggin' made in every possible way. And I've already reached out to Anton and I talked to him about a few things and got some background information for you guys on the design, on him, and some other cool stuff. And I told him as soon as I messaged him, I'm like, I love this knife. I'm like, I am going to be hitting you up for a custom order at some point because I absolutely need one of these in my life. By the way, for those of you that you tend to tune into these knife reviews about Russian knives and you always want to make the comparison to a Shirogorov, this is larger and quite a bit, not quite a bit, but a little bit thicker than most of the popular Shirogorov models. So if you're used to carrying around like an F95T or you're used to carrying around a Neon or something, this is an entirely different animal altogether. It's bigger, it's thicker, it's heavier. I don't see it being any less slicey because that edge comes down very, very fine. Really, really fine. It's a nice cutter, believe me. Hey guys, sorry for the interruption, but I promise I will make this very, very brief. I want to thank those of you that have joined and become channel members. You are helping to support the channel and helping to continue the growth. And if you've been considering supporting the channel in any way, shape, or form, because I do not have channel sponsors, I don't shill anybody's products, I don't get paid for anything, I don't do affiliate links, so everything is completely self-funded. If you'd like to help out and watch the channel grow and get more great content coming your way, please do consider becoming a member. So let's get into story time. This knife was inspired by the styling of the Spyderco police knife. And you might be able to see it a little bit as you look at this and go, oh, yeah, it's got a little bit of similarity to it. And that's because Anton really, really liked the Spyderco police knife. So much so that when he started making custom knives, he wanted to make his own variation. But now over time, he has updated the design and changed things here and there and made adjustments, and it's gone through its a few different series of evolutions, and it's kind of taken on a life of its own, and it looks a lot less like the Spyderco police model than it probably did the very first time that he made these. Now, what does ECILOP mean? ECILOP. Well, there's a couple different ways of looking at it. Number one, you can look at the Urban Dictionary, and apparently there is a definition logged into the Urban Dictionary of ECILOP. However, when I talked to Anton about it, he says basically it means police.
Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the police. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the beast. Whoop, whoop. That's the sound of the police.
Spelled backwards. Because, again, the original inspiration for this knife was the Spyderco police model. It's also a reference to an old Soviet film, he tells me. And I'm not going to be able to pronounce this correctly, so I apologize to everyone out there who speaks Russian that might feel offended by my horrible American tongue trying to do this. Kinzadza. Apparently that was the name of the film. If I'm smart, I will have written it somewhere on the screen. And ECILOP is a corrupt policeman who takes bribes and breaks the law. And he thought that that name really suited this design very, very well. And in the Urban Dictionary, I forgot the exact definition, so I'm not going to butcher it up, but it showed the pronunciation as ECILOP, where he had it was a hard C instead of a soft C. So however you'd like to pronounce it, I'm sure Anton is fine with it. Now, when I say Anton Konigin, what do you think of automatically? You think of Alexei Konigin, and you wonder, hey, is that just a really common last name in Russia, or are they related? Well, he's actually related to Alexei. Alexei is his brother. Alexei is the one that created the incredible Decepticon designs that not only he made as customs, which I have reviewed on my channel, but he also did the collaboration with Custom Knife Factory, which birthed probably their most famous, well-known design up until lately with the new John Sorensen Evos. Now, Anton did say that these are available through dealers, but I did not follow up with him and ask him what dealers there were. When I did a Google search, I turned up absolutely nothing. So it might be easier just to contact him directly on Instagram. He says he's pretty quick on replying on Instagram, and from my experience, he was. Now, you're not going to want to get on his wait list to get a custom built by him because he says he's very, very, very far out, probably close to a year or a little bit more. So if you don't want to wait a year to get your hands on one of these, just contact him and say, hey, I saw that video. I thought the knife was really cool. I'd like to get a dealer list from you so I can purchase this from a dealer, and he will supply that to you. Man, oh man, everything about this, it was so well thought out before he ever cut the first piece of material. Look at the way the back spacer is integrated into the lanyard opening. Again, very reminiscent, the way it makes me think of a Hinderer design. The way that you have these humps for the hardware holes. It's an integration into the design, and he flares those areas outward where the hardware is actually set. Beautifully done. The flipper tab feels great. The jimping is perfect. It's a nice shape to the flipper tab as well. It doesn't dig into the finger at all. I honestly want to play with this every day. Now, if I had it my way, and it's funny because I'm saying the same exact thing that I said about the last Russian knife that I reviewed that came from Graham's collection, is I would love to see this just a little bit smaller. I am absolutely loving it in the size that it is, because there are just times that I want to carry around a bigger, beastlier knife. However, if this could be done in a 3.5-inch blade, and then everything shrunken down proportionally to that, oh my God, I would be absolutely beside myself with lust. Absolutely. Now, he's done the frames in a number of different ways. They're not only available in the frag pattern. However, the frag pattern that he has done is very, very well executed. And again, going back to that pivot, how cool is this? If you have any religious proclivities, you don't have to be a Bible thumper, but if you have any love for religion, Christianity in any way, I think that you would really appreciate the way that he has cut out and designed that titanium Damascus pivot. I thought that was a really, really super cool touch. I'm not particularly religious myself. I have my own beliefs. I just don't run around shoving it down people's throats, and I don't feel the need to go to any kind of church or anything on a weekly basis because, hey, I've read the book. Don't need somebody else retelling it, usually retelling it incorrectly, and I'm not all about singing and dancing and all that kind of stuff, so I'm not doing any of that, and I actually appreciate that myself. I think that is a really cool touch as well. The fit and finish of every single area of this knife is flawlessly executed. There are no harsh edges anywhere, not even on the edge of the pocket clip. Now, the backspacer is inset just a little bit below the edges of the frame, but again, he has chamfered that inside edge of the frame so there's no harsh contact point. So when you're holding this knife, it just feels friggin' fantastic. You do feel the pocket clip, but it's not intrusive, and it's certainly not a hot spot in any way. And I am a sucker for a nice recurve. Nice recurve with a big belly. For those of you guys that own the Hellraisers that I make, you know that that is my personal favorite blade shape. I think it's dramatic, it's sexy, it's beautiful, and it's very, very useful. If you've never cut with a recurve, you really need to, because once you dig into whatever material it is right here and you're pulling, you can just pull straight back, and you can see how much the blade by itself will dig into the material without you having to actually force it through. Wonderful, wonderful knife all the way around. This is pretty much almost a 10 out of 10. I really can't give it any bad marks. I think it's just fan-friggin-tastic. So anyway, if you guys were looking for something quite unique, with excellent build quality, fantastic fit and finish, a unique blade finish, this should definitely be at the top of your list. And it's always cool to have something that not everybody knows. You know, you show up at your buddy's house. You got a whole bunch of knife buddies showing up. You're all bringing a bunch of knives, and you're playing with each other's knives, and you're showing off a little bit. This is one that's going to get everybody's attention. Nobody else there is probably going to own one, and they're going to go, "What the hell is this?" And that's always a little point of pride for us as collectors of anything, is to have something that's unique that not everybody else has. It doesn't make you special, but it does make you feel special. And that's really what collecting is all about. Getting into this hobby, you want to find things that do make you feel special, that make you smile on the inside and on the outside. And ever since this knife has landed in my mailbox, I've been smiling inside and outside. And I'm actually it's gonna be kind of hard for me to send it back. So yeah, this will be the last time you'll see this particular one on my channel, and I feel sad for that. But Graham, thank you so very much for sharing this with me. You got awesome taste, dude. You're batting 1,000 in my book. You're getting really cool, really unique stuff. And thank you so much for your generosity in sharing it here with me and my viewers. I know that I appreciate it. I'm fairly certain that they do as well. And to Anton, amazing work. Just fan-friggin-tastic. I cannot wait to see, as you progress through more and more models, where your creativity goes, because I see a lot of interesting, unique details and touches to this knife that could have been a fairly basic design overall, but really has been spiced up nicely. That's it for me, guys. I'm out of here, and I'll see you on the next video.